Hello and welcome. We have big news. The Ukrainian forces achieve a breakthrough in the Charkiw Oblast. Kupiasnk, one of the main transport hubs, is under threat. It's becoming clearer and clearer, more and more obvious that the long-told, long-proposed offensive in Kherson on the right bank of the Dnieper might be serious in its advances, but is actually not the main effort the Ukrainians put up. Increasingly, we get more and more success news out of Charkiw Oblast. In the last status report, I reported that Balaklia might be surrounded already, according to some sources. Now we have confirmation of Ukrainian forces inside of the town, which is now liberated. But that's not enough. They now have not just reached Chevenkove, of which we have image proof here. The pro-Russian telegram is now talking about Starovirivka being reached by the Ukrainian forces, which is here and which is a mere 11.5 kilometers or 12 kilometers as the bird flies from Kupiasnk. This means that Kupiasnk is now under serious threat. We don't have confirmation yet that Starovirivka has actually fallen. The reports just say the Ukrainians are in it, so there might still be fighting, and there's still a chance for the Russians to stop the Ukrainians in front of Kupiasnk, as we can expect that they are urgently rushing everything that can walk and everything that can drive towards Kupiasnk. Everyone from those headquarters that can be spared is probably being issued his rifle now and rushed towards the western side of the town. But as the Ukrainians have achieved success after success, this seems to be far more than just a recon advance. This is a mechanized attack towards one of the main transportation hubs behind the front, which is the one that will probably be essential for the Russians to even being able to keep Izium supplied. So should the Ukrainians succeed in taking Kupiasnk, and there's a real option now, there's a real chance that they might reach it and block it at the very least within the next 24 to 48 hours. In this case, there is, according to my judgment, it is highly likely that the Russians will have to evacuate Izium, because from that area we have also reports about Ukrainian attacks towards Izium. Whether that's to fix the Russians in place or to actually achieve something is unclear yet. But in the last situation report, I reported that not just Ozerne has fallen to the Ukrainians, but that the Ukrainians are also in Stary Karavan, which is twice across the Seversky Donetsk. And unless the Russians have rushed in reinforcements here, which seems increasingly unlikely, then the Ukrainians should be able to bridge the river here with heavy forces, with mechanized forces, and advance towards Lyman as well. Should they pass Lyman and reach Rubci here, or Losove, then Izium is almost cut off. If the Ukrainians use their HIMARS to disable the bridge here, the Russians are basically cut off in Izium, and that whole area here is in danger of being cut off and threatened with starvation. Now, that doesn't mean none of those troops there might manage to evacuate. Lots of the Russian equipment is at least capable of floating, so BMPs might be able to cross the reservoir here, the Oskil reservoir, in some places, as there is no big waves and something, and by foot crossing through forests, etc., they might be able to flee. But if Kupiasnk is actually in Ukrainian hands, I have big doubts whether the Russians can actually afford to hold on to Izium. As you can see, the main road supplying Izium is going through Kupiasnk, which would then be cut. That doesn't mean, in theory, it might not be possible, especially if the Ukrainians are stopped somewhere at close to Sviatohirsk and don't reach Losove. As we can see, there are some smaller roads going east. Now and then some lead down to Lyman, which would be useless as the Ukrainians are close to Lyman by now. But those smaller towns roads going east here would at least allow for some traffic. Whether that's enough to actually supply the front line is, though, highly doubtful. So what we see here now seems to be a significant breakthrough of the Ukrainian forces that are closing in on one of the main transportation hubs of the Russians, where there are also several headquarters of Russian troops. Should they reach it, the whole front to the south of it might collapse the Russians. And as a last bit, that doesn't mean that nothing is happening on Kherson. Rybar, one of the most pro-Russian Telegram channels, one of the biggest, is reporting a Ukrainian breakthrough close to Posad Prokhovsk, so in the direction of Kherson. I have it here. The report here and the English translation, they broke through the defensive formations near Posad Prokrovsky. But while what we see here is probably just more gestures of goodwill by the Russians, the commander of the Chechen special forces has educated us now that this is actually an intentional withdrawal, to pull back, to force the Ukrainians to enter territory where it's more easy to defeat them. Obviously makes perfect sense, so maybe that Ukrainian breakthrough is actually a big defeat for them in the making. Now that was sarcasm in case that wasn't obvious, but I hope you enjoyed it regardless. So if you enjoyed it, thumb up, give a comment what you think, how far the Ukrainians will advance further, or whether you believe the Russians are setting up a big trap. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Recommend the channel to your friends and acquaintances, and don't forget the bell button to not miss any future video. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.